everybody, and welcome back to Yeah, We Read It, the John Green season. My name is Laura Petro. I'm one of the hosts.
And my name is Meggie Gates, and I'm the other host.
And this is the podcast where we read young adult novels from our past, relive them as adults. This season, if you caught us last episode, we're doing something real special. We're bringing on all of our fun friends to talk about all of these fun books that we're reading. This one is Abundance of Katherines. Again, like I said, John Green season. We've got our bestie, Richard Brasseale, joining us. Hey, Richard. Oh, shoot. I didn't bring the Vuvuzela to welcome Richard.
As long as you brought the vibes, because as Richard said, they need to be immaculate.
Richard said...
No Vuvuzela's only vibes.
Richard said if the vibes aren't there, I'm going to leave our friendship and the podcast
So
episode.
if you hear a door close, if you hear a lock slam, it's probably Richard deciding the vibes are mid.
Yeah. And
if the vibes are square, then I'm not there.
And if you...
Ooh, that's good.
Oh, we could riff on this for so long on the vibes. But let's talk about a vibe that we're really gonna stretch out.
Sophomore slump.
And it's gonna be John Green's sophomore slump, Abundance of Katherines. Richard, what is your experience with this book?
Sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard already. Okay.
What is your trauma with this one?
This one particularly, I feel like I have a weird relationship to this book.
Okay.
Not in terms of me thinking that it's good, but that various things in this book just relate to my everyday life. For instance, they go down I-65 and they do that all the time to visit my home in Alabama. And also, the main character literally probably lives in the building that I currently live in, which is also extremely strange.
How do you feel being neighbors with Colin Singleton?
Makes me want to die.
Okay.
I'm the only prodigy in that building, and I need to have it that way.
You're honestly really good at saxophone.
It's a really good thing that Colin is not a real person. Meggie, did you ever read this book in high school?
I did. This one, actually, of John Green's, besides Fault in Our Stars, is the one that I have the most visceral memories of. I was Flex, a country club girl, so I was reading poolside, nannying for some rich family of a kid who once told me peanut butter and jelly is for poor people. And that is when I was reading Abundance of Katherines. I don't actually remember the book, I just remember the memory.
That's so funny because I remember reading this book. I think I got it from a Half Price Books. And this was when I was entering or somewhere in my John Green phase. I think I'd already read Fault in Our Stars and Looking for Alaska. So I was like, John Green's a great writer. And then I picked this one up and boy, was I perturbed to be wrong.
An abundance of problems.
Because I remember everything, I don't remember the exact plots, but all of the problems came rushing back to me as I was reading this book.
Did that halt your John Green discovery? Was this the last one you read? Or
No, I kept reading. I was I feel like I have to trust that, I've liked most of what I've read from him.
Yeah.
This seems like it was just a bad seed in the bunch.
Well, the audience probably knows, and if you don't, you're about to find out. With that, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
We are introduced to Colin Singleton, who has just been dumped 19 times. I'll say it, fun start, it's downhill from here.
We love a ditch.
At an 18-year-old age, okay. Vibes are immaculate.
And it's
the valley is low and the vibes are on.
Vibes are on.
This kid, it's the day after his graduation, and Colin's big thing is he's looking for a big eureka moment.
And he loves taking baths.
Yeah. And his parents come into his room and they're like, hey, buddy, your 19th girlfriend named Katherine is worried about you. She called us. And then Colin ends up throwing up and then just reading her yearbook message over and over again, which, can you say stalker? Because I can.
Yes, you can. Loud and proud. No one left me a message in my yearbook. That was just a sad aside. Anyways.
Wait, no. You can't just speed past this. No one signed your yearbook.
You know what?
Did you ask them to?
I don't think I asked them
to.
to.
Then Maggie, you can't just play victim here.
I'm not playing victim. Listen, I didn't lay out any of the background story. I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, but that's a really sad thing to hear. Is nobody signed my yearbook. And it's the way that sounds is everyone was no, I'm not signing
my time management is awful. I clearly didn't ask them.
Also, I even more love the fact that you didn't ask them and then you were no one signed this. You got sad, not that you forgot to ask, but that it was on everyone else that they didn't sign
Me
it.
and Colin Singleton, we have a a lot of things in common.
That's really sad.
We both take baths that our parents just kind of slam the door open to, and sometimes we vomit. And that's where
And sometimes you slay.
Oh, but I'm not a child prodigy. That's the other overlay of this book, is he is a child prodigy.
Yeah.
And his parents really want him to take a class at Northwestern this summer because he is a Chicago boy, as we have established.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to do that. He kind of just wants to weep over Katherine the 19th.
And now we're introduced to his best friend, Hassan.
Can I describe it exactly as it's in the book?
Please read word for word what John Green wrote on these pages.
Describing this. So his friend Hassan comes in like this. A fat, hirsute guy of Lebanese descent burst into Colin's room without knocking.
Yep. And get that just written down because it's going to be mentioned every single time Hassan is mentioned as a character.
Oh, yeah. The minority is the butt of the joke at every turn. And it never works. Unsurprisingly.
And I love how it goes from being fat phobic to like racist.
Yeah.
Like it alternates.
It's weird. It's
It
weird
really
that
does.
it's weird that that's the hill that John Green said. It's like not only is he really fat, I'm going to be horribly offensive
He's also
about his
Lebanese.
race.
Well, he
Yeah.
also implies the next plot we get of him is that he's lazy because Hassan is taking a gap year.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go to college yet, but he's gotten into Loyola, so it's every single stereotype, and then maybe some that John Green just kind of wanted to sprinkle in. Why not?
Yeah.
But Hassan is taking a gap year. He's a bit older than Colin, and he's just kind of hanging out.
If you say a bit older, it makes it sound like he's 35.
I guess they never really said that.
Old,
No,
fat
he's only been on a
Lebanese
gap year
man.
for 1 year, so
Oh,
he's
a
1 year
year.
older than
Okay.
Colin.
Got it.
Maybe he's 40.
I mean, I feel like he was like really into the Arabic language, and he was like, I gotta use someone in this book so that I can just randomly put fun facts about
This book is very fun facts.
It is because it has math too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
okay, not
I'm
fun
talking
facts,
Not fun.
but I just mean like random shit.
Yeah.
Like John Green's like, I want to flex my knowledge.
He
I
really
mean
did.
that's like pretty consistent within like every book that he ever writes.
yeah,
though.
that's
It's like,
true. He's like, I'm a fountain of knowledge on this random thing.
Yeah, and it's a pretty interesting like thing to write about a prodigy who only spouts fun facts. Which is like, oh, do you like
That's like his only conversational tactic is to say fun facts.
and to like profile people in his head?
How has he been in 19 relationships if that is his character type?
I don't
Most of them
know.
last 3 days or less.
Jesus.
And they're the same person.
Anyway, Hassan has an idea. He says, hey, fuck this. We're going to go on a road trip. And that's literally what they do pretty quickly. They convince Colin's parents. They convince Hassan's parents.
Who they describe as talking in a foreign accent.
Oh yeah, they overlay that, and then
She said, "Don't I tell you?" She said in accented English. Why did you mention that? Like, why did you have to? Did it add that much color text?
I guess he really wants
that's
to
called
lay
depth.
picture.
No, it's not.
And
It's called width.
true. And Hassan, he lies to his parents. Well, Colin lies on his behalf about how he's gonna get a job this summer, and that's why they kind of like let him go. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, you can go do that and be off on your way. We get background that Colin's type for no reason, as aforementioned, is Katherine with a K. Has to be a K, not a C.
Yeah.
Why? We don't know.
And honestly, we don't know what the appeal is or why. And on this road trip, as it starts, Colin's gonna be just so sad about the 19th Katherine, who has dumped him most recently.
Mhm.
And this causes us to get one of many flashbacks to describe his Katherine timeline. So we get the story of the first Katherine. We learned that Colin was gifted, but he lacked relatability because he could not understand how to empathize as a child, which is really depressing.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. But he did see a psychologist at the University of Chicago, but we don't know how much it helped out, because it doesn't seem like he loves to have empathy in this book. Like, I wouldn't consider him an empath by TikTok's terms, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't determine if by
Empath,
anyone's terms.
period.
Yeah, so his first Catherine was when he was in first grade. That's the TLDR of that story. And now they're in Kentucky, so moving quick.
Which I just want to mention for the fact that they said they were going south on I-65, and Paducah is like 150 miles west of I-65.
Yeah.
So I do want to mention that.
Oh, so do they get there really fast?
Well, I think they go down through Indianapolis.
They go on a different road. John Green's road is wrong.
Yeah, or they like pass it and then he decides to like fall half asleep and then get there. But either way, there's a great quilting museum there.
Oh, that's what they should have went to go see, because Colin does not want to stop to see the largest crucifix.
No, because despite Catherine being an atheist, she like wore a cross around her neck sometimes. And Hassan's like, I'm the only religious one here. Why are you even bringing that up about her? Because she is an atheist.
I don't know.
Like, no, I don't want to do any of the things you find interest in.
Yeah, Colin's already a snore on this road trip because he does not want to stop and do any road trip type things.
I would have left him on the road.
Yeah, throw him out. Throw him out.
Throw him out at the largest crucifix.
Laura and I have to pee all the time, so
Yeah.
we're stopping for some roadside attractions.
Hey, if we're not stopping to pee, we're stopping for an attraction.
Roadside attractions are rest stops.
Our rest stops come and go, and we do. We also get a bit of a backstory on how Colin and Hassan became friends, and the conclusion is Colin just wasn't really cool, and Hassan was like, "You're not cool. You're not gonna say cool things to make people like you."
Yeah,
but it's also not. I don't think Hassan's popular either. I didn't get that.
They say that he gets along very well with everyone, and that he
Okay.
can he's really good at like talking to people. My vibe for him is class clown kind of.
Yeah.
But he's like kind of like too funny to be like cool.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a
Oh,
lot
I
of
get
friends.
Yeah.
Did you say and fat?
No, I said I get that.
Oh.
I did at one point in the book.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, in John Green's world, yes, he's too fat to have friends.
Yeah, at one point in the book I did put, is he a short king?
I pictured him tall.
Who, Colin
Oh.
or Hassan?
Hassan. No, not Colin.
I pictured Hassan as tall for some reason.
I pictured him like kind of like average height. I pictured Colin
Like
as a
5'8".
short king.
Yeah. I
Okay.
pictured Colin short too.
Yeah.
And they're both just overcompensating for insecurities.
Yeah.
And you would think that would make it a relatable thing, but we don't ever sit on the sympathetic side of
No. Because
yeah.
oh, sorry. What were we gonna say, Richard?
No. I was just gonna say that I think that the insecurities that makes them assholes. I feel like Hassan, his insecurity,
Yeah.
he masks it by being funny, and I feel like
Yeah.
Colin does not do that.
Yeah.
He masks it by being kind of douchey, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
because Colin doesn't really have any redeeming qualities. Like, fun facts isn't a redeeming quality. Like, Colin isn't funny. He isn't, good with people. He doesn't respect anybody. So here's the thing: is Colin truly is a
Loser
villain.
with a capital M.
No,
Yeah.
and it's not only it's not a bad thing to be a loser, but it's a bad thing to be a loser who genuinely is a horrible person.
Yeah.
And that he is.
I mean, yeah, we really he's not painted in a good light.
No,
No.
not at all. But they get to Tennessee.
They do, and on their way to Guts, I just wrote down Guts, and I know it's
Gutshot.
Gutshot, Tennessee.
Guts.
They see a place, a roadside attraction, Laura and I's favorites, where Archduke Franz Ferdinand is buried. And Colin's like, you know what, I think I could stop there.
Because Colin loves a piece of history.
Yeah.
And they quickly meet Lindsay Lee Wells, and she is working at this, almost like a bodega convenience store type place,
Yeah.
market.
Can I describe how John Green says in the book
Yes.
when you meet her?
Oh, yes.
Short, skinny, her face not pretty so much as interesting looking.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
And then the paragraph afterwards, he says that smile could end wars and cure cancer. But I was like, you just called her
Kind-
interesting looking instead
Yeah.
of funny.
Pick a. She gave me Bozo the
Yeah.
Clown and Helen of Troy. Pick one. You gotta pick one. Well, okay.
Bozo of Troy.
Bozo.
Bozo of Troy. Write that down.
So we meet Bozo of Troy here, and Franz Ferdinand, and Colin, describes her that way. So he's kind of torn. Is he attracted to her? Does he want to punch her? Doesn't know.
Doesn't matter because he falls on this tour of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand grave.
Bonks
right.
his head.
It boxes his head, bleeding everywhere, but it's okay because Lindsay's a paramedic in training and Hassan's too fat to want to take his shirt off. Not my words. That is legitimately what happens in the book. So Lindsay has to take her shirt off to stop the bleeding, and they're all like, Ooh, she's wearing a purple bra.
Yeah, she does a little Mary and Jesus in the manger and swaddles Colin's head.
And Hassan's the donkey.
Yeehaw!
And, you know, she's a paramedic's assistant at 17. We learned she's got big things going for Bozo. And, ooh la la, maybe he's gonna break his Catherine streak.
I feel like though Colin is like the last person to get it though. I feel like Hassan's like, did you see her boobs? And Colin was like, no.
No, he's probably doing some equation in his head about how they're too far apart.
That's so true though, he would. But we pause here after she takes her shirt off to get the Catherine 19 story.
Yeah, we can't think about knockers for too long.
No, because we gotta think about Catherine 19's knockers.
Yep.
Because literally her purple bra, Lindsay's purple bra, is what spawns this story.
Yeah.
Is that he's remembering the last time he saw Catherine in her bra. And this story is yikes times 100 because Catherine 19 is way over Colin's bullshit because he can't hold a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like really whiny. He thinks he's past his prime even though he's 17. And Catherine ends up dumping him because she's like, you don't really want a girlfriend. You just kind of want the validation of having a girlfriend.
Yeah, dumps him 22 days before their first anniversary. What an icon.
Yeah, iconic. But Lindsay comes back, new shirt, and Colin wakes up from this concussed bloody mess and says that love is a graph. He has this big idea.
I'm obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with hitting your head and being like, love.
Love is math.
I love
is science. No.
Love is a
math.
burning
Sorry,
thing.
go ahead.
Trying to monetize a human feeling as something that is scientific and not just like a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like it's an overnight phenomenon.
But we
Call
do
Dr. Phil.
We do learn
ring ring.
that Lindsay is dating someone also named Colin, who they're going to refer to throughout this book as the other Colin. Despite the fact that her Colin was here first in Gutshot, so
hers is very normal. His of dating 19 Katherines is catastrophic.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Catastrophic. Okay. And we get a little bit of background of the first Catherine he dated, who was the daughter of his tutor, Crazy Keith, with also K's, Jesus, in middle school.
Is Crazy also K?
Yeah, Crazy
Okay.
was with a K.
And so was Cranial Kids.
It was.
An abundance of K's.
An
Good Lord.
abundance of
K?
He only went to school 3 hours a day because he hated everyone. And she was his first girlfriend. And then that's all the background we get on her. We're back to the Archduke, where Lindsay has a little bit of background on Archduke Franz Ferdinand's, saying that they bought his body from a castle for $350 in 1921, which I think is like $250,000 by like 2003's standards.
Yeah,
Kinda
crazy
crazy.
money. So when they meet Colin and his gaggle of two friends that we forget the two names of immediately, Hassan and Colin decide to play a practical joke where they pretend that Colin has Tourette's.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
French. And speaks French.
And he has hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
And he has like explosive hemorrhoids.
Listeners, this is on page like 35. So this book went to like lots of nooks and crannies that I wasn't really looking for.
Do you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that clip of that girl who's ordering at a Starbucks and she's just like, I'll take a grande double. I'm just kidding. Don't you hate when people are like that?
One?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I hate that white girl pumpkin spice latte.
It's like
Senorita awesome.
Yes. In some ways, like I understand that like also teenagers are some of the worst people. But also when you read it and then you write people who are the worst people, it's very like, why am I doing this? Why am I reading this?
Yeah, I like trudged through this book the first time I read it, and boy, I'll say it, I trudged through it the second time I read it for this podcast.
It was pretty hard.
I read it all in one flight.
That's very impressive.
Do you need to go to therapy now?
Yeah, absolutely. I started
That's
at 5 in the
part of my
morning.
life.
Well, yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Lindsay's friends and her boyfriend, TOC, the other Colin.
Yeah.
And they kind of figure out that this is a whole ruse between Hassan and Colin, and it's not that funny of a ruse.
Yeah, no one laughs.
I was gonna say maybe they pity laugh.
I don't think anybody really laughed.
And they go back to the store to get a Gatorade before heading out, and Lindsay's mom is there. Her name is Hollis, and she recognizes Colin from the aforementioned Cranial Kids that we were just talking about, the game show he was on where he won like $10,000 for being the smartest kid.
Yeah, we also don't, this entire book, I'm expecting some really big Cranial Kids story. We get like a paragraph on like page like 170 and it just says he beat somebody. Like,
this feels
what are the rules of the show?
It's like John Green saw Magnolia, that like 3-hour-long movie where the guy from Shameless is like a previously child prodigy, and he's like, I want to make some art that's not nearly as beautiful as that, and he did.
I would hardly think that John Green was thinking of why this YA book was going to be art. At least I hope not.
I don't think so.
No, I feel like they're like, Looking for Alaska is selling well. Can you release another book in 12 months and ride that high?
That's literally what I think happened. 100%. And he probably watched Magnolia in between that point in time.
Maybe.
But Hollis is gonna cook them dinner because of course she is.
She's nice. She's doing the Southern hospitality thing.
Yeah.
She's a girl boss.
She is a girl boss.
We learned that during this that Lindsay also, her big dreams are to stay in Gutshot because she loves it there and she has a boyfriend. And
Colin acts so like, what's the word, condescending to
her.
She's like, don't you want more for your life? And she's like, how dare I be happy about like where I am.
Yeah, Colin's a dick. Colin's a major dick.
Yeah, I forgot that one of the most important things is that when he sees that people don't have ambition, it's like he's a huge like turn off to him.
His idea of ambition is like, you have to go to college. And like, so when he hears anybody that like just wants to like work, like she just wants to be a paramedic, and he's like, ugh!
Which is kind of crazy because the house that he is about to stay at for Hollis's, I mean, it's a pink mansion, that's true, but Lindsay and her family come from like a deep blue collar background. They started this factory that manufactures the strings for tampons.
Hot.
And then they kind of just ended up like employing most of this town population, 868 people.
And then like ended up taking care of them.
So it's like very blue collar town. It's not Chicago, where it sounds like they're coming from Evanston, honestly.
Yeah. Right?
Colin's like, oh, you guys work at a tampon factory? Wow, that's so lower class and cool and quirky. It's
he's like loving it.
Colin, while they're making dinner, decides to start graphing. He decides to start mathing his ideas to make love exist on paper. His big quest. And then at dinner, he accidentally eats a bullet that's in his piece of chicken.
He does. And that really turns him off to eating. Instead, he's going to work on this little theorem about who is the dumper and who is the dumpy, and the trajectory of every single relationship. Which brings me to a fun question. Which one do you guys consider yourselves in relationships? The dumper or the dumpy?
I'm a dumpy because I just hold on to things for too long, you know? I keep being like, it's going to get better.
That's fair.
And you know what? It doesn't. And then I get dumped and I'm like, wait, why didn't I do this first?
I do that all the time because I'm also the dumpy. It's because I have a very, very high tolerance for bullshit.
Same. Yeah.
I have a high tolerance to bullshit, but I have been not in like enough official relationships, and the ones I have been, I've dumped more.
I mean, I think we would argue Colin has also not been in enough official relationships.
That is true.
Yeah.
I'm talking situationships mostly, because I feel like I've been in like 2 relationships.
Oh, then I'm probably the dumpy. Dumper. I'm dumped.
Dumpy.
I'm dumpy.
Oh, dumpies!
Dumpies
unite! That's why we're doing this podcast. We've all been dumped so much.
Wow.
That's true. But we don't get the opportunities that Colin gets to rise and thrive, because Hollis is about to offer them $500 a week if they want to stay in this house with a stranger. This pink mansion, I'm sorry, house is derogatory. Pink mansion with a stranger, and just kind of interview people around town.
Yeah, she wants
to. Would you do this?
Yeah, if I was in high school, yeah.
If you were in high school, you didn't have to pay rent, you didn't have to pay for food, and you got $500 a week.
Absolutely.
That is so much money.
That's $2,000 a month.
Yeah. In high school, that's insane.
And they're like, I guess it's below our standards.
Right?
It's not Cranial Kids.
I know, seriously.
It's not the Cranial Kids money that we still all have. He's the fucking
The
worst.
proverbial $10,000 that never goes away.
Seriously, add to it.
That night, Lindsay goes into Colin's room after Hassan goes to sleep, and so does Hollis, because she has to explain her picture of her being goth that they saw when they first walked into the mansion, about how she had to just, like, try some things out. She acts like, you know, like, being a goth kid at one point is, like, the worst thing ever.
Yeah, she's like, listen, about that. I was ugly once. And yeah, I'm cool now. But just know I was nerdy and not cool at some point. And, you know, you're kind of cool, Colin. It's just her.
Yeah.
She really wants to know that she's cool.
During this exchange, like, she's like, I was not, like, hot in 4th grade. And he was like, clearly you haven't seen Catherine too. And it's like, he just called, like, a 4th grader hot at 17.
My brother in Christ.
Yeah, he's
Yikes.
not really doing too great.
No.
But the next day, they get started on their $500 a week work, which is just a verbal history of Gutshot, Tennessee. Hollis needed out-of-towners to kind of put it together because they have no stake in the endeavors. And they have to get 6 hours worth of tape every day, which is just sitting with people and interviewing them for 6 hours. Exhausting.
Which I actually, okay, these parts of the book, the, like, when he brings in, like, basically, like, an NPC to come in and, like, to do the background, actually my favorite part of the book. Like, because I was like, wow, well, not because of Colin reacting like it was the most boring thing he'd ever heard, because it was actually, but it was like, okay, here's this town with a lot of depth, and you're hearing all these, like, cool outside sources.
Yeah.
And, like, you're painting it out to be the most boring task you could possibly do. But number one, you love, like, random facts.
Yeah.
And number two, you love, like, piecing together and thinking everything is interesting. So I'm not really sure, like, why it was, like, such a chore for him to do any of this.
Right, especially when he's making money doing it.
Yeah, you get to learn. That's, like, your favorite activity. That's your only hobby.
Like, the job is literally, like, learning history.
It's literally like they're paying you to take a class on the history of this town.
I would have liked Gutshot to be fleshed out a bit more, I think, in these interviews, because it was the most interesting part. And I also think that Colin's character could have gotten a lot of empathy talking to, like, these senior citizens, who they are. The first person they talk to is born in 1920.
And has no lower jaw, right?
Yeah, these scenes definitely could have been fleshed out more, because they start to just seem, like, very transactional and two-dimensional. It's like, I'm just, like, you're just giving me this so I can check a box. Like, that's literally it.
The first guy's a real one, though, because he does kind of insist, like, yeah, my wife and I didn't love each other, but we did fuck a lot.
Yeah, Starnes!
King.
Let's go. Starnes is the icon of this book.
And Starnes gives some background that Lindsay's ancestors, they started the factory. They're really good about keeping people of the town nourished and financially stable during the Great Depression, so they didn't go bankrupt, which is very sweet.
Yeah.
Lindsay's family, empaths.
And then after the 6 hours of interviewing, that Starnes does not shrug a shoulder at. He's just like, yeah, I could get interviewed for 6 hours. Lindsay asks Colin and Hassan to drop her off so she can hang out with her boyfriend, and then pick her up in 2 hours so they can go back home, because they can't go back home because Hollis is working from home. And Hassan and Colin get really bored and they want to go back home, so Hassan fakes an asthma attack.
Yep.
Cool, real cool.
Later, Colin overhears Hassan and Lindsay. They're talking about how smart he is, which you would think he would like, but he gets kind of upset when he can't control a situation, and he's, like, really frustrated that he's not in on it. And Lindsay's like, okay, but how does he memorize this stuff? And Hassan's like, I don't know, dude. It sticks in his brain.
He says he finds everything interesting.
Finds everything interesting. That's me with pop culture. That's me with reality TV.
Yeah,
honestly.
Most of it sticks in my brain.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like me with, like, Drag Race stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to know it.
But I just know it.
But then I'm like,
okay, but
now I know
in season 4, Miss Congeniality was elected by 4 votes.
Man, I should have asked you what was up with Lux Noir this week, because I did not know. I did not know.
I didn't want to know, but I do.
Oh gosh, where are we? That night, after Colin's parents say that he can stay in Gutshot, even though he's already been there for, like, 2 days, and he's already on this road trip, he had to ask for permission. Lindsay and Colin are once again talking after Hassan goes to bed, and she decides to give Colin storytelling tips because he's a bad storyteller. And it's like, he needs a lot of other kinds of tips before storytelling, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And he's also working on his theorem, trying to measure love in a wholly robotic way.
If you could give Colin tips, what tips would you give him?
Probably how to not be an asshole.
I think I would definitely try to give him advice on how to be self-assured.
Or how empathy works.
Me personally, I would teach him how to, like, I don't know, kill a feral hog.
Okay, do you know how to do that?
Not at all.
Okay, then how would you teach him?
I would
doesn't
teach
know.
him how to love and nurture a pigeon. I think a pigeon could be a very valuable pet.
Do you know how to love and nurture a pigeon?
No, but I have Google.
Y'all are just trying to teach him things that you don't even know how to do.
It's just a rock
Welcome
dove.
to the American school system. Wow.
Crazy.
Yes,
Also... Sorry. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, that's okay.
Have we talked about Colin's anagramming?
Oh no! I
Oh,
blacked
yeah.
that out from my
Because
brain. You talk about it.
This
Rick.
is a very John Green trope, is that he, like, gives each character, like, a fun, like, ism.
Yeah.
Or, like, a fun trope. He'll be like, oh, Hassan, who loves Judge Judy and says fug, and then, like, later we'll describe it. Or, like, Colin is very, very into anagramming. That's, like, his fun, like, brain activity. And so he'll, like, every now and then he'll just, like, pick something, and then he'll just make as many anagrams of it as possible. And then it's just, like, a fun, like, through line in his head for, like, when I guess he has nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no the motif doesn't really serve any purpose in this one the same way as like Miles in Looking for Alaska, that served one of people's last words.
Yeah, that
and
tied into everything.
This one's just anagramming because Colin just knows a lot.
What would you guys do if you were on a first date with someone and you asked them what they like to do and they said anagram?
I would say, do you play bananagrams?
I would say, what is that?
I would say what is that too, because I feel like my first guess would be palindromes, and that they're different, but I feel like that's where my head would go, and I'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then they'd explain to me, well, like, I like to rearrange words to make different words in my head, and I'd be like a crossword, and they'd be like, no.
I would be like, you know what? I don't know if we can date, but we can play the little phone games in the text app because I do like anagrams.
Okay.
In the text app. And
do you
word
words with
hunt.
friends?
Yes, do words with friends. That's the best way of friend zoning someone.
That's so funny.
It's words with
Words with
friends.
friends.
The words with friends zone.
The words with friends is on.
Anyway, the next morning, Hala says, boys, you're going to the factory to keep interviewing. And Hassan says, boys, I'm going to call myself daddy in the third person now.
Yes, I wrote down the quote. It says, Colin is complimenting Hassan's cooking, and Hassan says, no shit, that's how daddy got so fat. By the way, I've decided to refer myself as daddy. Every time daddy would say otherwise, say I or me, daddy is now going to say daddy. You like?
And then Colin says, oh yes, I love.
Yeah. Which is it giving fruit? Is it fruité? No, it's not. It's not, because this book is also homophobic.
Yeah, just when you thought this book couldn't add more things to its list.
Do you know what's funny? Two straight men who are acting like they're gay.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
really funny.
That is really early 2000s.
It's
though.
so early 2000s.
I mean, like, I don't know. I have thoughts on this. It's, well, hey, it's bad. It's like, it's not fun to engage. It is something definitely of its time.
That's so true.
And I'm not going to use that same excuse as someone who is a gay person to excuse John Green's portrayal of Hassan, because like that's not, you're dipping your toes outside of a community that you're never going to be a part of. Like John Green, I don't know his sexuality. It's fluid. It can always change. But I definitely want that to be kept in mind when we make light of it, because John Green is the butt of the joke here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this book is horribly offensive.
It is really bad. But the next day, so they're interviewing someone new. His name is Zeke, and then they go through like 26 people at the same time, I think. And when they're done interviewing everyone, Colin's like, I have decided I am going to walk into the field and I am going to call Katherine 19. And Hassan is like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Hassan is like, if you do it, I'm going to drive away. And Colin's like, I'm going to do it. And Hassan's like, okay. And Hassan drives away. My favorite thing that any character in this book to this point has done is just leave Colin to fend for himself.
Yeah, and Colin
Honestly.
calls, and guess what? He gets the shit kicked out of his heart. Catherine's like, don't call me.
She's like, also, we broke up for a reason. Bye.
She said, can you not contact me for 3 weeks?
Honestly,
Bye.
yeah.
I know. She's gotta go
She
to
has
camp.
every right. She has to go to
She
camp.
literally has
Honestly,
Hot
that's
Girl
my
Summer.
favorite thing. My favorite thing that happened in this book is 19 Catherine's dumping him.
Yeah.
So true.
It's so deserved. So the boys gotta go get Colin from this field. Lindsay and Hassan.
Boo.
They get in their little truck, they diddly on over, and Colin cries in Lindsay's arms in the back seat.
He's dramatic. He's like, I have to throw all my math away. My graphs are never gonna work. And Lindsay's being too nice. She's like, no, I don't know anything about math, but like, let me look at it. Maybe I can figure something out.
Yeah. Tension starts existing between Colin and Hassan because Hassan wants to start hanging out with Lindsay's friends. He's like, I don't want just a lonely summer with Anagram Boy.
Yeah.
Anagram Boy!
I'd love to hear him anagram Lonely Summer, you bitch.
And maybe Colin should want to make friends. No, he wants to read 400 pages a day.
And that's literally what he does. He decides to stay in where Lindsay and Hassan go out.
So
and
relatable.
Hassan is a teenager. He goes and like drinks beer, and Colin's like, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
You should be taking one class at Loyola instead.
Yeah, he is always pushing college on Hassan.
You know what you should do? Go into debt.
You know,
right?
It would be a really fun thing for you, I think, instead of building friendships and relationships that are meaningful. Debt. Why not?
But we also are introduced to that there will be a hunting weekend. Once Hassan gets home and says he had a beer, it's like, okay, hunting weekend's coming up, so that's something for us to look forward to.
Ooh.
Yep. In this mix, too, we get a quick flashback. While Colin is doing Cranial Kids, he is hot shit, and he's kind of got the sexiest girl in school on his arm, Marie Cavaroli. It sounded like lasagna.
Lasagna.
Yeah. That sounds like one of those, like...
Oh my god, I love Maria Spaghetti.
That sounds like one of those like Betty Crocker, like Marie Callender, like it'd be like a brand of like baked goods. Yeah.
Like a frozen meal.
Yeah, like a frozen like frozen rolls or something.
So he passes her up for Katherine. The first she shows back up at his doorstep and is like, you need to teach me how to do French. And so they go to get coffee, and that comes up later on. We get a little
which is, by the way, at a coffee shop I live above.
Yeah. So if you ever want to know where Richard's apartment is,
now you know.
Come find me at... No, I'm actually moving out of there this month. So.
Oh, this month, so soon.
No.
But Hassan's gonna play sick the next day.
He's playing hooky. He skips work, pretends to be sick because he's behind on Judge Judy. He has got to watch Judge Judy.
Honestly.
So Colin and Lindsay are the only ones interviewing today, and on the way, Lindsay is like, I have some advice for your theorem. You need to account for more variables like age, introvert, extrovert, other stuff.
They agree on 5 variables that I did not write down in my notes.
Popularity.
Unimportant to me. And so
I'm obsessed with, like, oh yeah, she's like a 7 popularity. Like, I love the fact that they're like, yes, this is definitive.
I love
this is
all this subjective stuff.
They bring age into it and then also popularity. What, at 70, who are you competing against?
Right? And also, like, what's the scale for popularity? Is it out of 10? Is it out of 5?
I have to be the most fuckable person at this nursing home.
Exactly.
Can I say that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Is popularity...
If that's your lived experience, that's your lived experience.
Question for the listeners and the host. Is popularity the same thing as fuckable? Or are they different?
Oh, there's a lot of popularity
There's a lot of
that were not
nuance.
fuckable.
There's a lot of nuance there. It's a spectrum.
Yeah. I feel like it's like a Venn diagram, and they share a lot of interests.
Yeah.
They share a lot of like similar things, but I feel like there are some things that are not. Like, as Colin mentions in this, I always appreciate girls when they don't wear makeup, which obviously is not a popular thing in 2006.
That's true.
I really love our top 5 at the end of this episode, but another good top 5 would have been additional variables they could have measured
I was
for.
just gonna say, I'm curious. Mine would be how fast they text back. I think that should be.
Mine would be how fast they can run.
Oh, that's sexy.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Is their family Jewish?
What?
Okay, no.
Oh, and you know what? Later on, Lindsay does bring up, would this work for gay people? And you would need more variables, top and bottom. That's an obvious one.
No, but Colin dismisses that and says it would work, so.
Yeah, he's like, no, it'll be fine.
That's
but
a great variable.
this would not hold a flame to a queer relationship. The boys are chaotic, the lesbians are clingy.
Well, Colin's clingy too,
I feel like the gay men trope is always that it's like you're back on the street in Boys Town in a second. And the lesbian trope is U-Haul, and we are kind of clingy.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the trope and stereotype. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are the lesbians? Wait, no, sorry.
You looked under the book. Are we
No, not in the book, but just in John Green's like world.
Oh,
like,
I don't know.
I mean, he did Will Grayson.
That's
He like co-wrote it. Which is
With someone who's queer?
There's a gay character
David
in Grayson,
David Levithan like wrote the other
David
part of the book,
Levithan
and they alternated chapters.
from Dash and Lily.
Oh,
and he also wrote a book
gay.
called Two Boys Kissing.
Ooh la la.
Okay, hi.
That's sexy.
Oh, where
That was
were we?
fun.
We're just having a good time
So-
talking about variables. So
Talking about gays.
and gays.
Variables.
Which two things? If there's gays, there's variables. I'll say it.
That is true.
Do they have one on making money?
We're dynamic.
Salary
income.
would be a
Yeah.
big one. Yeah. And also just like location, like right, like where they live.
Yeah.
Okay. We could talk about variables endlessly.
No, now we're at the old folks' home.
Yeah, but not before they get there. Colin has spent 30 minutes cranking out a fun new equation that he just like comes up with, and he's like, "It'll work."
Yeah, and the old ladies are like, "Are you two dating?" Ooh la la, but his head is in the books.
He's
not
like, "No,
in-
I'm
not
math."
at present. Hassan goes out that Sunday cruising with Lindsay, and he's making friends while Colin is back at home, probably reading his 400 pages. And this pretty girl named Katrina and Hassan, they kind of hit it off.
They kiss.
And when Hassan comes home, he's so excited to tell Colin.
And Colin's a major dick about it.
Oh my god, he's so in his own head about it. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
He's so mean. And Hassan is like, how many times have I sat through you getting dumped over Katherines and crying to me about it? This is the first girl I've ever kissed, mostly because of my religion. He didn't want to kiss anyone until he like got married. I think he wanted to keep a lot of that for later. And he kissed a girl, so he really likes her.
Yeah.
Colin brushes it aside though.
Nope. And this tension exists and like through the next interview they do the next day. And then Hassan like continues to call Colin out. They end up making up. Colin makes a joke about how he thought Hassan was gay. They hug.
Yeah, he does.
I do love the fact that like right when Hassan does this basic a diagnostic monologue, and he starts with, you know what the problem with you is, which I love that trope a lot.
I love it.
You know what? Here's your problem.
I know.
You don't think outside of your own self-interested head, and it's like, yeah, Colin knows that.
It's
but
like they're paused in the doorway and they have their eyes closed and then they go, you know what? And they turn around.
Yeah,
I love that
it's
shit.
so 2000s movie, and that's
It
what I
is.
love. But after this, the other Colin comes barging in, and he invites Colin hunting, and Colin's like, I already knew about the hunting, and they're like, great, you're invited.
Yep.
And then at home, Lindsay has to ask her mom why one of the ladies at the retirement home was saying she was going to sell a bunch of land. Something's up.
Uh-oh.
Hollis kind of swerves that question. She dodges it. Lindsay's keeping it in the back of her head to revisit later. Meanwhile, Colin is working on the theorem. He cannot figure it out because Katherine 3 is proving very elusive. The graph, cannot work. He's only dated her for 12 days in the past, too.
Right? So Lindsay says, put that down. We're going to dinner because Hassan and Katrina are going to dinner. And as they're going to dinner, they see Hassan and Katrina kiss.
Ooh, la la. After this, they need to blow off some scenes shooting in the air
Yeah.
with a shotgun.
Lindsay doesn't want Colin to embarrass himself going hunting, so she teaches him how to shoot a gun.
With a massive kickback.
Yeah.
It's like
It bruises his shoulder 10 times.
He keeps firing it into a tree, so he's just blowing this tree to shit. And Colin really bruises his shoulder, and after shooting, Lindsay's like, I really want to show you somewhere special. I think you've earned it.
I've caused you harm.
That cost you hell. So she takes him to a cave.
I didn't know how to picture this cave, I'll be honest, because it's in a place where a neighborhood development's gonna go, but it's also pitch black.
Yeah.
Also, he describes it in dimensions, right? He's like, it's 5 feet by 12 feet. I'm like, is this just your bedroom?
Yeah.
Is this
I was really confused. I thought it was have you ever seen those TikToks of people who will do the undersea diving? And
Yeah.
it's they pull themselves into a small hole in the water. That's how I imagined it. But
Yeah.
then I was like, how do they get in and out?
So there's a
Oh.
cave near my hometown. I hate the entrance of the story. There's a cave in my hometown where it's really, really big, and then there's a really tiny hole at the top.
Yeah,
and you
there
have
is.
Oh yeah. And you have to literally climb up, go through it, and then the cave is 3 times as big on the other side.
Oh,
So
that's
sometimes
nice.
caves break down in different ways.
Oh,
I think that's what they were trying
Yeah,
to
I've seen. I hate the TikTok videos of people who have to go through tiny holes in caves.
Yeah.
It gives me so much claustrophobia.
I hate it.
It's so stressful.
Let's talk more about spelunking.
Okay,
Is that what it is?
I would talk
The
about
National Speleological Society.
Okay, Colin.
Yeah.
You're not going to be single ton for ton long.
Wow. What a shot to the gut.
Also,
That was really good.
while they're on the way to this hideout, this is where we kind of get the wrap-up story about Colin helping Katherine 1 with her French, and she becomes Katherine 19. So they're the same. Katherine 1 and Katherine 19 are the same.
Yeah, we get some dorky ass line about how he's only dated Katherine's after her, and now the first one has come to reclaim the throne. Gag.
Yeah.
I would hate that.
Right.
That's the ick right there.
But
would you date someone that you dated when you were 6 years old?
I mean, by 17 or 18, they're probably different.
Yeah, they're way different people.
But like also like you weren't like you didn't have that much in common when you first dated, so maybe you actually do have things in common.
I was pining for my best friend's brother when I was in like 4th grade, and we dated for like a month freshman year, and we did have a lot in common because we're both gay. So we both ended up gay. That was the fun story. I thought it was a cute one.
That's a great way to be.
Exactly.
That's a great way to be.
It's a great way to be. So they're in this cave. They're not gay, but they've got moonshine, so things could happen.
So they could be gay.
Okay, Lindsay does have a really good monologue here about how this whole Valentine's story about how nobody gave her a Valentine.
Oh, it's
and
really sad.
And the other Colin was such a dick to her, and she kind of like the button of the story is like, and now I'm dating him, so like I always get the last laugh. And I thought that was the most well written like piece of dialogue in the entire book.
She brought Valentine's to school, and no one gave her Valentine's back until TOC, the other Colin, brought a box of Alpo, which is dog treats I had to look up, to her house for Valentine's Day, insisting she's a dog.
Yeah.
And then she wanted to date him because psychology's whack. It's crazy.
Woof.
Woof.
That's rough.
That was beautiful.
They almost kiss in here though, and like that's yay. She has a boyfriend.
But she feels like she can be herself with Colin. That's the protagonist Colin.
Sounds like she needs to call in sick.
Oh,
there
write that one down.
John Green.
So they go back
Is that an anagram?
Was that an anagram? We don't know. Only John Green knows. He's the god of anagrams. When they go back to the Pink Palace, Pink Mansion, whatever.
It's basically a palace. By Gutshot, Tennessee standards, it's a palace.
Oh, yes.
The Pussy Palace. Hollis's big fat pussy palace.
When they go back to Pussy Pound Town, they go.
Hollis's big fat pussy Pound Town palace.
Welcome to Pink Pussy Palace Hotline. How may I help you?
Ring ring.
Hi, this is Hollis. I need to sell some land.
Yeah,
I need to tell some land and a billion tampon strings.
We have front desk man Hollis manning it down, buss in the area. And she is essentially saying they have to sell the land because they have no money, and Hassan selfishly is like, I really like Katrina when this bigger problem is going on. No, that's very sweet of him. And things are awkward with Lindsay and Colin. That's where they kind of leave it off because they did almost kiss.
And they can't think about anything else right now because hog hunting day has come.
Feral hog hunt.
And the hog hunt starts, and boys only. Boys are the only ones going out. Colin and Hassan quickly hang back because they're like going straight up a hill.
And obviously because Hassan is, comedically large, he can't keep up his breath to catch up with.
Yeah, so they kind of fall behind the other Colin's TOC's dad, Mr. Lyford or something, because Lyford is really obsessed with hunting these feral hogs. Actually, there's a lot of insane facts about feral hogs. It is legal to just kill them in the most insane ways. Like sometimes the government will just blow them up because it's a really big problem and they're really aggressive. And they like each individually make like 50 a year. I don't know. I listened to a whole podcast on feral hogs.
That's interesting.
Which
I'll try to find it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
So Mr. Lyford's gotta get these feral hogs. And Hassan,
he's a hog guy.
Do you think he also listened to the hog podcast?
Honestly, maybe.
I
gotta find it. It was really interesting.
I would like to listen to that too.
I'll send the hog chat.
We'll link it in the description of this
The
episode.
hog chat.
The hog chat.
Welcome to this section of this podcast.
I'll drop the hog
chat.
pod in the chat.
Our hog 5, where we spend the next 5 minutes talking about hogs.
I wish we did.
I wish I'd come with the facts. But the dad leaves them. He realizes they're not that serious about hunting. He gives them his dip to hold on to. Why not?
Hassan
And then he dipped.
Yeah,
dipped.
dang, poetic. Hassan decides to take a little nappy bye. Colin decides to do some math, his favorite pastime.
And in this moment, we do realize that Hassan knew Catherine 3, and Colin does the very normal thing of calling through the operator to just ask her some questions,
Loves
jog her
calling
memory.
Katherines. He loves calling his exes.
Yeah.
Loves
Red
calling his
flag.
And he learns that he dumped her, and that's why his theorem isn't working. So he's got to go back to the drawing board.
But he can't go back to the drawing board right now because a hog is nearby.
A hog is afoot.
And he knows how to shoot him, but he misses and he shoots a hornet's nest instead.
So these 30 to 50 feral hogs, they're not standing down.
No, the hog does run away though because it's scared, but they get on a little hornet chase.
Yeah.
And they end up getting like hopelessly lost. They get pretty stung. And then they end up just kind of like walking, trying to find back camp, but they end up by the like just general store.
Cemetery.
Yeah, by Archduke's grave.
One very particular cemetery.
Yeah.
Franz Ferdinand's baby, and as they are tending to their hornet wounds, I don't know, Colin has 8 stings, Hassan has 3.
And they witness 2 other feral hogs.
Oh!
That was a great segue.
Great segue.
Thank you, I appreciate
They
that.
witness 2 feral hogs doing the most animalistic act of bumping and grinding, spinning on that dick.
Broad daylight.
Just twerking.
Just
They didn't even
twerking.
make it to the club.
They're Nat Geoing all over the place.
And
They are girl bossing, gatekeeping, and gaslighting all over the
they are
cemetery.
girl gushing so hard.
And it's
Both of them are.
we could go on with this for too long.
And we will.
And it's Katrina and the other Colin who are bumping
Yes.
uglies.
Hassan's current girlfriend and Lindsay's current boyfriend.
Yeah-oh.
Zoinks.
And the other Colin, he puffs up real hard. We don't really understand how the other Colin got there because he was also on the hunt. But he got there, and Colin ends up recording the conversation that they have where the other Colin's like, I'm not cheating.
And Katrina's like, I swear this is the last time. She feels pretty bad. And the other Colin's
It's clear she's done this multiple times.
Yeah.
Does she really feel that bad? She was like, it was supposed to be like a goodbye fuck. Like,
Yeah, because she was trying to end it because she was currently cheating on Hassan and did
Yeah.
not want to be. And and then Colin, I love this. The other Colin states this very particular philosophy, which is, well, we've stopped now, so we're not cheating anymore, which is like such a very specific kind of gatekeeping and gaslighting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's twisted logic, and I mean, yeah, but it doesn't get rid of the past.
No, but in the other Colin's head, he's home free.
Yeah.
But afterwards, they're all hanging out, they're drinking beers. Colin immediately plays this tape for Lindsay. She's pissed.
Yeah, why do you think that Colin played the tape?
I don't know why he felt like he had to play it in front of Colin. I don't know why he didn't feel like he could wait till he was home.
Yeah, because there's other people here too. There's people because all these people only have acronyms. They are just not people.
No, yeah,
Colin and
like one was like scat or something.
There's Jat and SOCT, which is really confusing with TOC also.
Yeah.
One of them
it's too
means
many
like
letters.
something skinny jeans. I remember that.
Oh, I don't remember.
Fat ass skinny jeans? No.
Oh, I didn't remember.
It's not that.
Yeah, I didn't remember either because it wasn't repeated enough as to like why this was here for me to really retain
He mentions it once and then gives them anagrams,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like, I guess like it's not an important thing, but
then it's like when you bring it back, I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Because we didn't see these two characters ever. We saw them on page 10 when they were introduced, and now they're just back.
But they all have a common enemy in TOC. They are all trying to fight him. He's kind of taking them all down.
he's like a quarterback, right?
Yeah, he's a quarterback. He tosses Lindsay to the ground. He
Yikes.
gets Colin's balls. I didn't really know. Kicks them. He's got them.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got him.
I mean, Colin gets knocked out. So
He
he
gets
gets his
knocked up.
ass beat.
Yeah.
So I think this is supposed to be the fact that like they called Gutshot Tennessee Gutshot because people would do like wrestling and mixed martial arts there.
That's
And that was the
Oh.
only place where they could do gut shots, like shots below the belt. And so I think that was like a
Like
that's
like
a
a
reference to that. That's actually
Yeah.
really clever then.
That's pretty interesting.
or at least that's the way I took it. Maybe I'm giving John Green too much credit.
I mean,
So that's what they do, and Hassan also walks away with, I think, a split lip and a pretty swelled up eye. He's not doing too well, but
No.
Colin passes out.
Yeah.
And he comes to later on the next day at the Pink Palace.
And he is sore, but they gotta go to work. They gotta get that $500 a
Corporate
week.
America waits for no one.
Not at all. And they're
No
gonna
sick
go.
days in Gutshot.
No sick days.
They go interview Mabel at like the retirement home times 2. Like it's the sad place.
Yeah.
Basically like
I think it's like hospice.
Yeah, it has to be like
Yeah.
hospice.
Yeah.
yeah. I love the way
Or
they
like
describe it
extended
as,
care. Like there's like a level of like I used to work at a retirement home, and there was a place next door. I worked at a retirement home in high school. I was a server there. But there was like
Candy Stripe.
There was like no, it wasn't a Candy Stripe.
Candy Stripe.
It wasn't. I wore a black apron. It was very
That's
very gothic.
That's even more morbid.
No, it was really nice. Everybody was really nice there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the people who kind of, like lose their memory too much or need extended help go to a different retirement home that isn't hospice, but is just really much more like, 24-hour care and stuff like that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
see.
my grandma was in that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah. That's why I keep
Pre-hospice.
calling it like retirement home
Times 2.
squared.
Yeah. So they're at Retirement Home Squared. They're visiting Mabel, and Mabel's really excited to see Lindsay. It seems like she might have a touch of dementia because she keeps confusing Lindsay with Hollis, but she's like, Lindsay, why don't you come show up more often? And it's a very sweet moment. And it kind of is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, Lindsay ends up really breaking down. We're unsure if it's because of the whole boyfriend situation or if it's the whole like guilt over this Mabel situation.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah.
I feel like there are so many different like
Layers.
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's a mix of both because like I was kind of confused here because I was like, is Lindsay like feeling really bad that she didn't go see Mabel more?
Yeah.
But this is weird because this is the first time we've met Mabel.
Also, Mabel is like, it's okay. Like, I'm just glad you're here now, Like, she's very particular about, like, oh, it's good to see you. Like, you've grown up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a little strange to me.
It seems like a lot of mixed emotions.
Yeah.
So she goes home to, process her feelings, and Colin decides to get right back to that theorem because he can't emotionally support anyone. And now that he's understanding that he was the dumper of Katherine III, he plugs it in and the theorem works.
He finishes it.
All 19 Katherines work.
And Hassan that morning, he is registered for some college classes.
I was gonna say he was registered to vote.
No. We don't know. We don't know if anybody in this book's a voter.
I don't know his age. I thought he was older. He could be. Registered to vote at 18,
But next day,
Too lazy to
Lindsay...
vote.
I guess that's what they want us to think.
Lindsay calling his Hassan. They're going to get to the bottom of this Hollis selling land plot line because you might have forgotten about that because I sure did.
Yep.
There's too many plot lines. They go to Memphis to spy. They meet Roy, who's just like dumping tampons in a hole to bury.
Yeah, they're trying to be stealth mode, but they're not doing too great.
Right. Essentially, what happens is that they run into Hollis, and then Hollis explains that they lost a lot of their vendors for their tampon string company, and so she's buying them out and shipping them so that it looks like the company is doing okay and consistent, but in reality, they're just slowly losing money and also causing waste.
Yeah.
So they're being beat out by offshore companies, and instead of just, biting the bullet and maybe squashing your ego, they're killing the earth by just burying all these tampon strings.
Yeah, but she says she's doing it so she can keep like the entire factory like employed for 5 more years. So there is some morale here.
It is sweet. The thing is, I'm just like, why can't you just pay them? Maybe they can show up to work and like do other things.
Right. It is a little like,
yeah.
Why?
For how bad it sounds like they have industrial grade.
I just like.
things being lowered
I also
into
feel
the
like at
ground.
that point, shouldn't she just try to like donate the tampon strings to like a company? Like, here,
Yeah.
take
Or
these.
just like make less and still pay people the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, like why wouldn't maybe like give it to homeless women on the street or like start a nonprofit side of
Yeah,
the
like
thing.
literally just start making tampons and then you could do like a whole charity thing.
Yeah,
But
I guess it would be kind of hard to like I bet she might feel guilty maybe. Like that's her whole thing. It's like she feels so guilty that she's taking care of them and now she can't. I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, it's a very human thing to do. I was just like, there has to be a better
There
way.
has to be a better way. Like I agree. Like I understand like the care that's there.
Yeah.
But I think we can all agree there's probably a better way for her to handle
They
this.
should have called the Pink Pussy Palace.
They should
They
call
could have
the-
really used some tampons.
They could have. I guess she's got about 5 years just to pay out of pocket for them, which is kind of crazy. She must have so much money. And they all agree that they're just going to keep this a little secret.
Yep.
They're just going to keep it a little secret between them, us, and the impending climate doom.
Yeah, but Hollis isn't done yet. Her and Hassan team up. They're going to brainstorm some other ideas for her to, not keep doing this and maybe get things back on track.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollis says that Lindsay's, sleeping over at her friend Janet's house, and Colin's like, I'm on to her.
He's like, wait a minute, she has no friends.
Yeah, wait a minute. Janet wasn't a single person's name in this book.
I didn't have any anagrams that started with J.
Yeah. So he goes camping and ends up meeting Lindsay at her secret spot before it gets sold. And Lindsay ends up venting to Colin about her feelings. And Colin realizes his eureka moment that he is self-centered.
Yep, they both kind of have a who's more self-centered. And then Colin's like, I'm starting to think nothing can fill the empty void that is my life. And... I mean, that's literally what he's like. He's really having a hard time not being the smartest person.
No.
And she says that the Archduke that they have people do paid tours for is actually her great-grandfather buried.
And it's an anagram. That's
his name.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Dinsenvar is. It ends up being an anagram for Franz Ferdinand.
Oh, who would you want if you died and I was selling tours of your guys' body?
Does it have to be an anagram?
No, it can
Do
be
they
celeb.
have to be dead?
No, this can be in the future. Any celeb.
Okay.
Oh, I want Lady Gaga.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Dame
want
Maggie Smith. For me.
Thank you.
I want Ashton Kutcher as mine.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You both have brown hair.
I want Archduke Franz Ferdinand's son.
Lil Ferdinand.
Lilford.
Lilford. But so that was I felt like that was supposed to be like a very
that was the only time the anagram actually came in useful.
Right? It felt like that was supposed to wrap up some sort of button here, but it didn't really pay off at all because I was like, Dr. Dinsenvar was not mentioned enough.
No.
Right. So it's also, how did Colin even know who that was?
Yeah.
The only thing it wraps up is Colin's tongue in Lindsay's mouth. They start kissing.
Oh, but before that,
he spends 5 pages explaining his entire history with the Katherine.
So she goes, tell me the story. Tell me all of your Katherines. And then he goes one by one, explaining each relationship.
Does that mean Lindsay has a thing for Katherines too because they start making out immediately after?
I guess
wish
so.
it was.
Yeah.
The Katherines are way too long. Instead, I was going to pose a question to both Richard and Laura, which is, which Katherine's lore was your favorite? I liked Katherine 5. She was described as the nastiest girl in school for always having lice. And in Katherine 17, he met online who had a pierced nose, and she broke up with him because he wasn't emo enough. Which rules.
It's like, where'd you find her? Did you find her on emo.com? Because that's on you, buddy.
On a message board? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Katherine?
My favorite, sorry. I was just thinking about K17. I was like, I would have dated her.
Yeah.
My closeted self would have. It was K15 because the way he describes her is like, she needed so much help, but she didn't want any help. And I was like, she looked like she wanted help.
Was she the one with the big brown
puppy brown eyes?
Oh,
yeah. It describes her as that sort of made you want to take care of her, only she didn't want me to take care of her, and she was a very empowered feminist. And I was like, so you profiled her personality based off of the way she looks, which he does this often.
Yeah.
Yes.
But and then got sad because she actually was not that, and then she broke up with him because she wasn't an artist. Which he never said he was, and I was like, you're so tactless and unable to read symbolism for someone who's supposedly extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah. You won?
I think my favorite Katherine's the 1 to 19, and because she got to dump him twice.
Honestly, and that's
pretty profound.
And I wish, yeah.
Yeah,
Good
she
for
literally got to dump him twice. He deserved that.
That's true.
Yeah,
he did.
I don't know how a child can deserve to be dumped, but knowing what he turned into, he did.
Would you date him just to dump him?
Probably.
Yeah.
We John Tucker Must Die him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Even
the 3 of us would.
Oh, yeah. I think Colin might have a little bit of that dog in him, and by that I mean gay.
Yes, the gay dog that you both have in you.
Oh, I'll be the gay dog inside of him.
Colin Colin doesn't have that dog just yet, though. He doesn't get his little woofy treats yet.
No.
Oh, he's barking up the wrong tree.
That's good.
He has to go home and work on this theorem because now that he's got a little kissy girlfriend in his life once again, he's really got to predict their relationship, and it's not looking good. It looks like him and Lindsay are only going to have about 4 days before she dumps him.
According to his theorem.
According to his theorem, and you want to know what something, y'all? The theorem doesn't work. Right?
They keep dating.
It takes Colin on page 213. He realizes, wait. Math can't predict the future. So we've spent an entire book about how he's going to do this, only for him to up and realize, this isn't possible.
I feel like they, I guess John Green put way too much weight onto that and not enough into,
Yeah.
Him accepting that he doesn't have to be great, and instead it was more him accepting that, that the theorem doesn't work.
He can't control his life.
I was like, oh, so he's still self-centered.
Yeah, so he still sucks.
Yeah, the moral he takes away from the theorem not working is that there's, quote, a place in the brain for knowing what cannot be remembered, which is so cryptic. I wrote down, boy, are you Egyptian? Because you're being cryptic as fuck.
Yeah.
Like a crypt.
That actually sounds like a smartphone commercial. The space in your brain for things that can't be remembered.
That's
it's the
so
cloud.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's the cloud. But then they all end up just they decide to not go to Hardee's because that's their spot. They decide to go to Wendy's instead. And then they decide to not go to Wendy's. They decide to just keep driving into their unknown future that no one can predict.
Yep.
Into Paducah, Kentucky.
The camera pans up as they are on their way to Wendy's to get one of those Dave's singles hamburgers.
Getting their 4 for 4.
Like the 4 for 4. Those spicy nuggets.
Spicy nuggets.
Oh.
Frosty. That's so
Damn.
good. Yeah, this book was a lot.
This book was too much.
Even now, I get torn talking about it because, of course, you have to point out the flaws that is John Green writing marginalized communities he doesn't know anything about. But it also feels like it sucks to have to point those out because it sucks to have to even re-traumatize and do all of that.
It sucks to have to reopen this up and be like, oh, great, we're going to kind of analyze this book that is problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. It would be really hard to go. I mean, we can't do this, but if I were to, I wonder how I would interpret it in 2006 or whatever he wrote it. You know what I mean? It's like, what was this considered progressive for 2006?
I remember when I first read it being really uncomfortable with Hassan's character, and that was my main reason for disliking this book. So
I didn't love the book. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I hated this one when I read it.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I read an abundance of. Nope. I read Looking for Alaska, and I was like, wow, that really affected me. And he I think he did a pretty good job of breaking the manic pixie dream girl trope.
Yeah.
Which works even better in Paper Towns because he has these aggressive, self-interested male characters who think something of a girl, and then something happens to the girl, and he goes, wow, this was all because of me and not because they have any depth at all. Yeah. And then they have to learn the hard reality that they're not that important.
Yeah. I mean, it's
this one didn't do that at all.
I know, because I get that John Green, I think he tends to like to write male characters that are pieces of shit that have to learn a lesson. But Colin is just a piece of shit that doesn't really learn anything.
No.
Because Miles learned something. I know the kid in Paper Towns learns a lesson. Colin doesn't really there's no repercussions for his actions.
Yeah.
He just kind of is just math doesn't work for me. I've got a new girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, Richard, what is the monologue that you wanted to
read? Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Listeners, while Richard's pulling that up, Meggie and I know very little about what's about to happen. Richard just said he's going to read us a monologue from Tumblr.
Yeah. So this is a bit of I think this is a pretty big historical landmark. So I'll give you guys some context about Tumblr in 2012, which I hope that some listeners will know this and appreciate this. But this was a time when Tumblr still a terrible website, but was a terrible website, and you could reblog someone's post and then edit what they put in their original post.
I remember that.
Yeah, so someone famous could post something, and then you could reblog it and then edit it and say whatever you wanted them to say, and then people would be like, wow, Ben Affleck really just said
that's so
XYZ
funny.
thing. And so people were so John Green of course got a small following on Tumblr because young adult, it makes sense, and vloggers or whatever. So this kind of got really popular. I guess just content warning, it's extremely explicit, but I'll read this for you guys. And by the way, his profile is called Fishing Boat Proceeds. Okay. As I near 200,000 followers here at Fishing Boat Proceeds, I just want to say, cock is one of my favorite tastes. Not only that, but balls smell amazing. It makes me go a little crazy, to be honest. Like, I cannot get it far enough down my throat to be satisfied. I'm only satisfied when I feel those intense, powerful, salty, hot bumps of cum down my throat. When I sit back on my heels, look up at you with cum all over my mouth and slobber running down my neck, hair all fucked up, and wipe my mouth with the back of my arm and ask you if I did a good job, and you cannot even speak because I've drained all of your energy out of the tip of your dick, ellipses. That's when I'm satisfied.
That is so...
That's
the minute you said
so
it, I
funny.
knew that it was that one. I was like, I have not heard that in years. God,
Wow.
I feel like it's a beautiful bookend of starting the second one, because I read the monologue to Looking for Alaska in the last episode, and
so to have this end this way
and
is perfect.
I was weeping. So to have this end it is perfect.
If I wasn't dehydrated, I would be crying.
That's fair.
I'm crying for the three of us.
Yes.
Let's talk about our canceled character for this book.
Oh, I mean, I have a feeling if I spearhead it, the rest of you will follow. It's gonna be John Green.
Oh,
yeah.
Our second time canceling the author, I will concede to that absolutely.
Was the first time also John Green?
No, it was actually
No.
L.J. Smith
fair.
who wrote
Vampire
Vampire
Diaries.
Diaries. I think it was like the 5th or 6th Vampire Diaries book that was horribly offensive.
I just think it's
cool.
not underground that this. I mean, like, there was a line of thought, and especially in like early aughts media of marginalized communities being the butt of the joke. It just, like, I think never to this, or well, obviously to this degree, but like this was to a pretty extreme degree, and for young children to be molded into that mindset and consume it really sucks.
Yeah.
I feel like I read like the epilogue or whatever, when they asked him questions at the end and he was like trying to describe his thought process. I don't know if that was in your
That
guys'.
was not in my book.
Oh no! What's the takeaway?
Well, one of them was like, why did you write this book in third person instead of first person? And he was just like, I felt like when I was trying to follow Colin's stream of consciousness, stream of consciousnness, like I felt like it would end up going on too many like weird random fact tangents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so instead, like I wanted to like remove that, but I feel like he was also trying to like remove his onus from like him being a bad person, from being like, oh, like this is his perspective and it's not mine. But like it's still kind of like, then why would you make him the main character if that was like there was no use to him being the main character.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because Lindsay probably would have been a better main character.
Oh,
but he cannot
100%.
write from a female point of view.
Ooh, are you, well.
Well, does he write one from a female?
Yeah,
The
Fault in Our
Fault in Our
Stars.
Stars.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
I really like Fault in Our Stars. At least I remember really liking it.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I think it worked real. I'd have to reread it.
Yeah, I'd have to reread it to. I'm gonna reread it to get a better perspective. But let's talk about our top
you
5.
also wrote down John Green. Okay.
Oh no, I usually write them down at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay. So.
But let's talk about our top 5. For our better. This is our top 5 for this episode. We think our top 5 this episode should be better theorems that Colin could have come up with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I started off pretty hot at number 5 because Richard has some socio-political ones later, but I think he should figure out how to close the wage gap. We probably know he's a little far away from the 2016 Me Too movement. He might not know that women exist, but he'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, he does, I guess, refer to each woman by what they look like first before how they act.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Richard,
So that's number 5.
Richard,
Okay.
do you want to read number 4?
I will absolutely. Number 4 is where people go to college, which I feel like it would actually be extremely relevant to like his like personality and like, who he is as a person.
Yeah, better thing to calculate. Lots of variables to consider. You know, like
Yeah.
family income, location, GPA. All good
If
things.
they're popular.
If you're popular, how
There you
fuckable
go.
you are.
Love it.
Age.
Age.
If they're gay.
If they're gay.
No, if they're gay, you just replace the G1 to B2. You know.
Funnily enough, it works if you're gay, but not if you're a lesbian.
Not
it's very crazy.
if you're lesbian. Tops or bottoms, you go to Weenie Hut or Weenie Hut Junior.
That's so
no
funny.
college.
Number 3.
Paramedic.
We think Colin could benefit from some additional hobbies, and maybe he could use math and physics to get better at sports. Any sport, maybe basketball, maybe hockey. That's a lot of like inertia and calculation, so that would work.
And that's actually also realistic too,
Yeah.
because that would force him to make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. For number 2, this one's actually Richard's. Richard, you wanna say what this one is?
I forgot about this one. Yes, I think that it would be great if he could use the theorem to solve global warming.
I mean, that'd be really beneficial.
It would actually be useful instead of, I mean, I know he's a self-interested character, but I think it would be very of everyone's self-interest to solve global warming.
It would
so
have
I
been
don't
great.
think it would be.
He was putting time into this in 2006? The New York Times said we needed to get started on it in the 80s.
That was like 9 years after An Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not enough inconvenient truth was referenced in this book, I'll say.
He was just Al Gored by a feral hog.
He was just Al Gored. No, he really was. Oh my god. And then coming in at number 1 for the 5 other theorems that he could have made, he could have, just an equation on how to see women as people.
Yeah, good calculation there.
I think starting off by using math instead of maybe like reading women's history or a book on sex and gender.
Colin would be like, women, they have 2 boobs, 1 vagina. That equals girl.
And 0 brains?
Yeah.
No, he's gonna do a theorem on how far spread apart their boobs are based on their person.
And age.
And
if they're gay.
How interesting their face is.
Yeah.
I love the theorem of predicting how far apart women's boobs are based off of their popularity. It's the funniest thing in the past week.
Listen, he's got a lot of ideas. Colin Singleton, if you're out there and you haven't, yourself yet. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That took a turn, Maggie.
Listen.
Colin, if you haven't gotten so depressed from Northwestern University.
I got so depressed. Listen, it's fine. We've all tried.
You know what? I voted today and I didn't see Colin at the voting booth.
Wow, me either.
Canceled.
Canceled.
Put a big fat canceled on it.
But that's gonna be it for this episode.
Yeah.
We did it. We talked about the Katherines too much, I'll say.
It was an abundance of Katherines. John Green was not lying.
No, he wasn't kidding. And if you want to get an abundance of Meggie, Laura, and Richard, we are online. We are hanging out at, Laura and I are. Richard's not involved in this. We are at Meggie_and_Laura on Instagram. We are on Twitter and TikTok at We Read It. Richard, where can our lovely, lovely followers find you?
Oh my god, a few different things. Instagram, RT Brazil spelled like the country. I guess you could find me on Spotify too, I guess.
Yeah.
Richard Brasseale, all undercase, and my last name is extremely hard to spell, but just spell out Brasseale without the G.
It'll be in the description too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
And
I will find the Hog. If you want the Hog podcast, you can also email us at MeggieandLauraPresent@gmail.com. I will find it for people.
Yeah, from when this episode is released till the next episode, anybody who emails us will get the link to the Hog podcast. That is a promise.
Also, fun fact, the music that plays at the intro of this podcast.
Richard made our intro music. Isn't that really cool?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Sorry, that's really mean of me to say.
Well, no, it was
but
used.
It's true.
It was used for
something else, and then
I found it. It is episode 149 of Reply All. It's called 30 to 50 Feral Hogs.
Great. That's gonna be how we end the episode.
That's how you should refer to your fans.
But I mean, yikes, Richard! Don't tell them. No. Thank you all for listening to this episode, and we will see you next week. Thank you.